Hello, my friend, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Daily. My name is Aaron Machbitz. Let's talk about Hulk Hogan, arguably the most famous professional wrestler of all time, and had some really iconic moments throughout his career with the WWE. But nowadays, Hulk Hogan is not as popular. Let's look back at some recent history of Hulk Hogan. We go back to the debut episode of Raw on Netflix. Hogan comes out, gets freaking booed out of the building. He get booed out of the building almost louder than Logan Paul gets booed out of the building, and that's really saying something. Then he's scheduled to go to Saturday night's main event, gets removed from that, and then makes up something about his family because the fans' reaction to it was so poor. And so you have that combination of stuff. And then recently, Hulk Hogan goes on Pat McAfee to do whatever. And Pat's asking him about the Raw on Netflix debut sort of reaction that he got. And Hogan's like, yeah, it was just like maybe had to do with like the politics and stuff. And this is the best part. McAfee kind of cooked him here a little bit subtly. Pat just goes, yeah, and maybe some other stuff too. And sort of the conversation kind of ended there. You know, Hogan doesn't realize some of the stuff that he's done and sort of added up to make people, not really like him anymore and kind of understand that he might be a shit human. But whatever, it is what it is. That reaction at Raw on Netflix was hilarious, and Hogan like thinking that it's just about politics or that he supported Donald Trump or whatever the case may be is hilarious, and sort of being oblivious to all the other stuff. And then Pat McAfee drops that little bomb in there, which was perfect. But what I actually want to talk about from his appearance on Pat McAfee is his picks for the real Mount Rushmore. He said that Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, Ric Flair, and Macho Man Randy Savage are his Mount Rushmore. Now, he picked all guys from his era. He said they paved the way for everyone to do what they're doing now. They paved the way for the Shawn Michaels, the Rocks, the Stone Cold Steve Austins, the, Seth Rollins, the Randy Ortons, all of these, the John Cenas, of course, who's the actual GOAT, right? But I kind of liked what Hogan said about his Mount Rushmore. Andre the Giant, one of the most recognizable figures in the history of WWF, WWE. Roddy Piper, I think, one of the most underrated and underappreciated performers of all time, just the way he was able to create moments and magic. We all know the storied career of Ric Flair, how good he was. And one of my favorites of all time, who's actually in my Mount Rushmore, is Macho Man Randy Savage, who, when you look at it, is the most complete professional wrestler we've potentially ever seen. Like, when you're building a superstar from the ground up, JBL always used to say this about Randy Orton, but I think it's Macho Man Randy Savage, right? Charisma, entertainment value, could wrestle in the ring, athleticism, could obviously talk on the microphone, could create moments and magic, and had authenticity, and also execution was good. I mean, Macho Man Randy Savage is the man. So I actually didn't really dispute Hulk Hogan's real Mount Rushmore claims, because he stated that he's only talking about guys from his era. He's not talking about the Stone Colds and the Rocks, because the guys like Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, Ric Flair, and Macho Man Randy Savage created the foundation, which is actually true for guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, Triple H, The Rock, to create the careers that they did. And so I do always appreciate when Roddy Piper gets his due. Again, I think underappreciated even in the WWE Hall of Fame, but still underappreciated for the talents and the legacy that he created and the ripple effect he's had on the things he was able to do on the microphone and in the ring. But I always love the Macho Man shout out. That guy's my GOAT. Outside of like John Cena. I mean, I've stated this before, but here is my Mount Rushmore, and I'm doing it from all eras, so it's a little bit more challenging, but I've picked John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, and Macho Man Randy Savage. That's my Mount Rushmore, but I like sort of Hogan's idea of that foundational Mount Rushmore and then moving from there. And so to continue on our theme of Hogan, we can talk about what The Undertaker talked about on his podcast in regards to Hogan sort of being a not such a nice guy. So they were, wrestling early on. This is what Undertaker stated on his podcast. He and Hogan had a feud and a couple matches early on in Undertaker's career. And Hogan, I guess, was like a little worried about taking the Tombstone Piledriver, which is, a dangerous move. We know how dangerous that move is now. I mean, in current day, we see Kevin Owens just pile driving everyone, Sami Zayn, Randy Orton, and they're on the shelf. They're injured for multiple weeks, multiple months. And so the piledriver is a dangerous move. We know that Stone Cold Steve Austin got really, really badly injured, shortened his career definitely on a piledriver. And so the piledriver is a dangerous move. But I mean, The Undertaker has been doing it for like 30 years, and I don't think he's hurt anyone. And so that's a pretty damn good track record. And so Hogan's like worried about taking this move, and an Undertaker or Mark is like, I'll take care of you, don't worry. And so they have the match. Undertaker does the move, does the pile driver, and Hogan like claims that he hurt him, that he can't feel his neck, that he should tell his family that he loves him, all this stuff. And then, after a few days, they're having the feud again, and Undertaker's worried. The match again, the Undertaker's worried they're going to take the title away from him because, Hulk Hogan was the golden goose, and some say that he had the pencil out of time or he had the book, so he was writing things in. He didn't know if he was going to totally bury Undertaker. Undertaker was going to get fired and never come back to WWE. And what about if that was actually the case? We would have never seen sort of the evolution of Undertaker and the rise to him as being one of the greatest superstars of all time. And so it took a few days, but Undertaker went back and watched the footage and saw that Hulk Hogan's head never even came close to the mat. So he didn't hit his head at all. The thing he did after the match was all this commotion and selling and trying to scare, Undertaker and pretend like he might get fired and all these sorts of things. And then Hogan was like, yeah, well, I know I didn't hit my head, but you just had me like a little tight, and so it just felt a little scary. He's like, no, but I took care of you. Like you didn't hit your head. And so that's the whole part of this story. And so Undertaker's like explaining that like some things just come back to you, and it just proves what kind of person Hulk Hogan is, and maybe you believe it, maybe you don't, but I wanted to share that story, and I'm glad Undertaker shared that story with us because it's very interesting about sort of the person Hulk Hogan was, and also at the same time he was trying to promote this character of being this real American, of being this like stand-up babyface hero. And it's so interesting sort of what happens backstage in professional wrestling that doesn't line up with the actual character that is being presented on TV. And so all of those things are kind of cool to know about Hulk Hogan and who he is as a person and how the fans are reacting to him in current day, which is amazing. So shout out to Undertaker. Check out his podcast. It's pretty freaking cool. And then we'll go into the last topic of today, which is some WrestleMania predictions. I mean, I'm doing WrestleMania predictions almost every single video, which means I'm doing WrestleMania predictions almost every single day. And now we saw this. I touched on this briefly on a video a couple days ago, but we saw Drew McIntyre exit sort of unceremoniously from the Royal Rumble. Maybe there was a missed thing there. Maybe it was a miscue. Maybe it was a botch. Don't know what it is. But then he gets backstage and he's fuming. He's leaving. He's screaming. He's leaving before the show ends. He's just absolutely angry and supposed to set up a feud between him and Damian Priest, which I think will be amazing. Two absolutely huge dudes, underrated dudes, I think. Well, at least Drew McIntyre, I think, is extremely underrated. I think Damian Priest is exactly rated how he should. He got the world championship. He's been booked really well. I think Drew McIntyre still is underrated in WWE for his contributions to carrying the company. But I think that'll be a cool match at WrestleMania. Now we know that Roman Reigns is hurt right now because he took two absolutely nasty curb stomps from Seth Rollins. We don't know when he's going to come back. Maybe it'll be at the Elimination Chamber. Maybe it won't be. John Cena and CM Punk are already in the Elimination Chamber, but I still think we're going to lead to CM Punk versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. I think John Cena is going to win the Elimination Chamber and hopefully challenge Cody Rhodes for the world title or for the WWE title at WrestleMania. And then we're going to see Gunther versus Jey Uso. I'm still holding out for Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan versus Io Sky. I think that match steals the fucking show. And those are some, WrestleMania predictions that I've been predicting for a while, but seem to be still potentially possible as we move forward, as we get closer to Elimination Chamber, and as we get closer to the actual WrestleMania, which is in Las Vegas this year. But that's all I got for you on today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please comment below your Hulk Hogan thoughts, your Mount Rushmore thoughts, your Undertaker thoughts, any WrestleMania 41 predictions you might have. Comment them below. I would absolutely love to hear them and talk about them and react to them. But please subscribe, share this with every wrestling fan that you know, and I'll see you guys next time. Lots of love. Cheers.